Gaming and BS episode 302 being recorded Monday, July 13th, 2020. Welcome to Gaming and BS, a tabletop RPG podcast. I'm Sean.
I'm Brett. I can't breathe water. Good Lord. I've been drinking water all this time, Sean. You think I'd figured out how to breathe it by now.
I know, man.
Anyway, I'm Brett. Welcome to the show. Welcome back, folks. Glad everybody's here. Sean, how the hell are you, man?
Can't complain, Brett.
Well, you can, but no one's going to listen.
It's true.
Because I love you. I'll listen to you, but we can talk about that later.
I'm not sick. I don't have COVID. I got a job.
You got a one wheel?
I got a one wheel.
I've seen
some of
the videos. You seem to be doing pretty well. You haven't fallen and broken anything.
I have not killed myself.
This is good.
Yeah. Mr. Cammer has one himself. He just texted me right before the show and said, "Hey, man, I went on I think it might have been his second ride or something." He's like, "I'm getting the hang of it." Like, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's
What I want you to do is hang out with Cammer before he gets really good at it and just like hot dog around him.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. And just like,
we'll
whoa,
go easy, What's
the matter, Sporto, Mr. Iron Man, Mr. Tough Mudder.
I call him Taco Boy.
Taco Boy. Yeah, probably answers for that.
What's up, Taco Boy? Speaking of which, he's hit us up, or he's hit us up, I guess, unofficially about wanting to get back on the show.
Oh, hell yeah. Alex is good people.
He's something about Forgotten Realms. Him and Ed Greenwood, I think, are working on something else. And they did the
the guide. Yeah. Oh shit. Border Kingdoms. Yes.
The Border Kingdoms.
Fuck yeah. Let's get him on, man. I like Alex.
Well, yeah.
Alex is not only an awesome dude, just all around nice guy, solid gamer, knows what he's doing, good writer, all that stuff. So yeah, fuck yeah, get him on. And you know how these topics go. You tell me when he's available. Boom, he's in. There we go.
He's got a microphone now, he says.
Oh, he's very nice.
Yeah, he's in a noon game with some heavy hitters, I'll just say. And he had to get a mic so he doesn't sound like a rookie anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, get him on, man.
But speaking of Alex.
Yeah, virtual GameholeCon event registration and badges available. So link in the show notes, GameholeCon.com, of course, if you're interested. Ooh, Sean's got the shirt. They've had some pretty cool shirt ideas, or I shouldn't say ideas, different shirt types and logos, images they've been splashed around. So that's pretty slick. Very, very cool. So Sean, you won an all-inclusive copy.
Well, before you...
Sorry.
Before you get into that, so I know Josh Wallace has submitted a couple games, or at least one game to GameholeCon under our banner.
Did you?
I did. I submitted my Delta Green game, which I'll be running for 4 lucky patrons. I will be running that same scenario for GameholeCon, scheduled for Thursday night, I think starting at 8 p.m. It's a 4-hour game. So if you are wanting to play in that game, then you will not want to watch the actual play of the Delta Green game I'm about to run in a couple weeks.
Yeah, because every game Sean runs is exact carbon copy of the previous.
Well,
there will be spoilers, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I get it.
So, but yeah, I'm going to put in one mothership game during that con.
So this is the opposite of the last 2 years. I am now being shamed. You are in before me.
Well,
Damn. Okay.
And then I will see, I think we could put just an actual, just a meeting event on there. And then I'll see how many people Zoom can handle. And I'll just call it the Gaming and BS Social.
I'll tell you, not only is how many people can Zoom handle, but how many can actually talk. Reason is, a friend of mine, one of my gamers, JR's father passed away not that long ago. And it was a Zoom funeral, and it was a clustered fucking mess.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Try to get Zoom with like 50 people dialing in type of thing, all trying to talk at once. You can't hear anything. So it's kind of like, it's like an online meeting. You've got to organize and control it, facilitate the discussion, I think, is what we'll have to do. Not that either you nor I don't know how to do that. We could totally do it. I think it might be just got to keep keep that in mind, I guess. All right, yeah. So I got to get some damn games out there. All right. I'm on it. And now, you mentioned this in September of 2018.
So in 2018, we had it as a die roll that this thing was being developed, was in like testing for Roll20, putting out what's called Burn Bright, which is a game. It's a scenario or game. Actually, it's a game that was developed with the platform in mind, which is Roll20. So everything else has been ported to Roll20, right? Hey, you're going to play Call of Cthulhu. They put Call of Cthulhu books in there, maps, tiles, tokens, whatever, and die rollers. Burn Bright, headed up by James Introcaso. It's got Darcy Ross was involved.
Mm-hmm.
Jim McClure and one other person.
This is for that platform, like you said, right?
It was explicitly designed and developed for Roll20, and I watched a stream, got into a raffle, and I won.
Holy crap! That's good for you, man.
It never happens.
Hit the applause button. That's awesome.
Oh yeah,
Can't believe you won something. Holy shit!
And now I don't know if I'll play it or run it because I don't know if it's necessarily my jam. I'm gonna take a look at it. I may just pick it up or buy it. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But I thought what we do is I will figure out a way to see who is interested in maybe obtaining it. And I mean everything. I got everything. It's not like, oh, I got a rule book and some tiles. Like it's a shit ton of material. Like
get the whole enchilada.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I was thinking if a BSer would be interested in exploring it or wanting like this full blown, I have the access key, I haven't used it, and I would just, so I don't know if we'll do it from random or if it's from email signups. We'll figure something out, but I will give that copy away to somebody.
Oh, very nice of you, man. We got it for nothing. Give it away.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Hey, I like the way you think, man. That's good stuff.
Thanks, Brett.
That's good. That's very good.
Yeah,
Anything else?
No, I don't think so. Did gaming? Did you game this week?
Last week, Tuesday, my Avalon game went off without a hitch. That went really well. It was a big kind of a quasi downtime session. A lot of people trying to figure out what came next. My buddy Nick, his character, has been gunning to try to become a holy warrior of the Temple of Hermes, and there I had a wonderful opportunity to surprise him, which is that I don't get to do that often. His character gets taken up in front of the church after the other priest had died. There's a big funeral to be had, and they're waiting for the quote unquote new priest to arrive, and it's Nick. So Nick was like, "Hey, surprise, kid! Guess what? You're a priest now. Get to work." It was more to it than that. It was from a game perspective, knowing Nick and how I set it up, it worked out really, really well. It was wonderful. Guys are taking over. I got one guy who's retiring his character already. He wants to become the innkeeper. He took over the One-Eyed Raven, the inn. Other people have moved on to different things. And finally, at the end of it, they're like, oh, yeah. And those vampires. Yeah, we got to take care of those vampires yet. So they haven't forgotten the major bad guy that's still roaming around the neighborhood. So that's cool. And my kids decided after we played Call of Cthulhu last week, and they both died. Actually, no, they didn't both die. AJ died. Ilana escaped, and her character's placed in a mental institution for us to her natural life. That was because of poor planning on their part. They still had a good time, but we decided, okay, that was fun. We played a couple games of Call of Cthulhu or Trail of Cthulhu as well. What do we want to do next? And they chose Middle-earth role-playing. So they want to do something old school, very different, just to have the experience because they've heard me tell the stories. So this Wednesday, I'm rolling up MERP characters at home for the first time.
Middle-earth role-playing with the kiddies.
Yeah, they're going to have fun.
Oh.
And actually, that conversation led to the topic for today as well. So it's all time. It's all tied together. How about you, Sean? Did you finally wrap up the Tomb of Annihilation?
I wrapped up Tomb of Annihilation, and it came to a slow fizzle.
Oh, did Jeff's character make it?
It was like this is how it ended.
No, does Paladin survive?
He did.
Okay.
But it was like sitting on a whoopee cushion and not having it be very funny. It was basically that.
Oh, That sucks.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed, and
So whose fault? Oh, Sean, fault is that?
I'm the dungeon master. I will take full responsibility, but I at the end was like, I don't want to play 5e anymore.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I was really pissed off.
So it was a game thing? It wasn't like the story ended, something dumb happened. It was the dice fucked me. I hate this game.
Well, so I had a buddy of mine that I worked with in my last job who was going through Tomb of Annihilation, and he was 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks ahead of me. And I can't remember. I don't know if the dungeon master was new or if they were, if they had quite a bit of experience. Excuse me. Regardless, he told me they got to the end, and I think he might have said it was like a bloodbath.
Oh wow!
So when so I'm like, oh okay. And when I got to it, I read it. And I'm like, here's the deal. Here's the deal. No spoilers. Whatever. Here's the deal. If you're running Pathfinder 3.0 or 5e, and you only have one baddie, and you have 6 or 7 player characters, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Action economy basically states the side with the most turns is going to win.
It's ridiculous. It was totally ridiculous. I
So
mean,
they just stomp the shit out of your bad guy.
Well, you're talking. Well, okay. So I don't think this is a big secret, right? There's a lich at the end, and it's gonna bring the
big thing on the cover is the thing inside.
Fucking spoilers.
All right, there you go.
And there's power word kill. Brett, do you know the spell power word kill in 5e?
In 5e, I do not. I know that it used to be, I think it was 50 points or less, you just died back in the old days. But I believe you actually get a saving throw now or something like that.
You do not get a saving throw. You have to have less than 100 hit points.
Less than 100, okay.
Less than 100 hit points or you die. Which is fine, but it's not if all the party members have more than 100 hit points.
Oh, so the really cool thing you don't get to use.
So you have to whittle them down below 100 hit points and then use it. Well, I got Mr. Paladin Jeff Boy that's like dealing, I think he dealt like 140 hit points of damage in one round.
Wow.
140 hit points.
Yeah, if the creature you choose has 100 hit points or fewer, it dies.
Yeah.
Oh, so you just have to wait till they're whittled down past 100 hit points.
Well, right. And there is something in the game that I will not divulge because that is potentially a spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just say that it would not be uncommon for all your party members to have over 100 hit points going into that encounter.
Fair.
So the problem I had was I didn't have enough dweebs out there to kind of futz with them, right? To even get in the way.
You need some more mooks. You need more mooks. You
more
need more
mooks, man.
Skeleton, something, some critters, something. Go raised guests.
Redonkulous. Redonkulous.
So if you run that again, you know how to change that up now.
Oh, yeah.
More bad guys.
More bad guys.
I like it.
So, yeah, I was kind of like, meh, meh. And then I ended it. It's over. There you go. 2 years worth
of work.
I mean, Jeff was so nervous, he was shaking.
That's awesome.
And then it was like a walk in the park when he was like doing 140 hit points of damage.
Oh, hey there, Shumbo. Guess we got this one. Oh, look at that. Dead Lich Man. Whoa.
God, you should have saw him, Brett.
Oh,
he might be listening to this.
That's awesome.
Oh.
But I'll tell you what, though, I think you're dead on. The action economy basically states indirectly the side with the most attacks usually wins, which is one of the things that 4E had, which the more I only played a little bit of 4E, i.e. one game, read enough about it, talked to plenty of people. The Mook concept, excuse me, that they had, they basically one hit point ogres, if you will, right? At a certain level, these grunts, they have all the same to hits and damage, and they have all the powers and stuff, but they only have one hit point, so you could take them out. But, a bevy of specters, even at Mook level specters or something they're still draining, they're still hitting, they're doing things to the characters. So you even out that action economy perspective, right? Where that's not 16 attacks against 2.
Right.
Because usually the one with 2 gets their ass handed to them.
I totally screwed it up.
Hey,
it was like the one encounter out of 2 years where it was like, this is screwed up. Like all the other encounters, all the puzzles, all the baddies,
Complicated undead minotaurs in the maze.
Minotaurs.
You figured that shit out.
Yeah, figured that out. It's all no big deal.
It was too easy, and you messed it up.
I messed it up. They think they still wanted to play. I know Andy wanted to kind of continue, and I'm like, nah, I'm done with this particular
set of characters and adventure and storyline. Let's wrap this up. Well, man, better luck next time.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I don't know. I told him about like Zweihander, low fantasy gaming. I'm like, in Zweihander, man, you get hurt, it takes you a week.
Yeah, well, it's like Call of Cthulhu. Get shot, good luck.
Yeah, well, and then you could get like an infection, and then your arm gets cut off because they have to amputate it. Like that's that game. And I said, this shit. I mean, they're running around with minor artifacts now. I mean, like I don't have time for this shit. I'm not gonna run them through that crap.
What level are these guys?
10th or 11th.
Hey.
Yeah, the Ring of Winter and all this other crap.
I tell you, man, for me, wow, I'll talk about that later. Anyway,
I just get
random encounter. Do it. Random encounter. Let's move on.
Random encounter segment of the show where we field comments, emails, voicemails.
Speaking of, let's let Sean relax and listen to Blake Ryan talk to us for a little
bit. The sultry tones of Blake Ryan.
G'day, this is Blake Ryan, just responding to the building your own RPG system. I agree with Brett. You don't have to publish your world. You can do it and just, do it up nice in Pages or Publisher and release copies to your gaming friends. One reason to make your own game is if you're using bits from different games, you can end up with 3 to 5 books open, and even with PDFs, this can be a hassle. So you figure it's easy just to merge it into a document where you know where it all is and that it flows with your gaming style. Use a contents page with hyperlinks and bookmarks. They work, in Word or PDFs, and this shows consideration to the reader, including you, and you want them to enjoy reading the book. Yes, I have made supplements for other games and released my own game, Don't Pay the Ferryman. Does it work? Yes. Every game I ran, people had fun. Is it a huge commercial success? No. Have I learned some things? Yes. Will I try making a new game or doing a big revision on my existing one? Probably. It's nice to have a project to work on with, things you care about. There are hundreds of games out there, and if you look on itch.io or DriveThru, yes, you should look through searching for keywords, etc. I recommend doing multiple searches with different keywords rather than putting them all in at once and wading through a long list. Different skill sets are required, like you can have awesome ideas written on a page, but if the page is garish colours or the layout is a mess, people won't take it seriously. You can learn by looking through what they do in other books, compare and contrast, who has done what when, and use their lessons in your product. Regarding layout, you don't want just text. More than 2 pages in a row becomes a wall of text that makes readers tune out. You want to break up things with pictures and tables and flowcharts, getting across your information in different ways. For some, stock art is a dirty word, but I can say, check it out. There's heaps of really good stock art on DriveThru. Some of it's really good. You want borders or dividers, it's there. You want black and white add to give it an OSR feel, lots of that there too. There's also really good high quality colour art. One of the tricks I use is to write one chapter and then work on a second chapter, and 3 days later I go back to the first chapter and read it out loud, and you go, I need to rewrite these sentences or reorder the paragraph to make it flow better, and that way you experience it as a reader. I will say you need to be clear when you write things. Don't put, you can kind of do this and maybe do that. Instead say, here are your options, A, B, C. This will let your readers know your style and tone for the game, which will set it apart and inform your audience. Playtest your game. It can be, okay, we need to test the social mechanics. So we will do 3 quick scenarios with characters of different goals and outlooks. Record it with Audacity or video, etc., so you can go back and review it. You will find your lessons in one area of your game will inform your choices in other areas, and this is part of the joy of making games. Regarding creativity, what I do is write notes. If I think of an idea, I write it down, I'll put it in Google Calendar as a reminder, and then review my notes once a week. Every movie I've ever seen has given me an idea. You got to let your mind wander and run with it. Totally agree with Brett. that it doesn't have to be official to be fun. Every single designer out there has made mistakes. Some learned from them and some didn't. You can learn from their mistakes and successes too. All right. Happy gaming, fellas.
Blake Royne.
Good stuff, man. Thank you, Blake.
Yeah. Brett's going to put that on speed dial. So when he starts plugging away, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to record that and then listen to it.
Well, I knew at some point, we've got some feedback coming in on the forums around it too, I know. And there's really good perspectives and ideas. And like I said, even if it's just a labor of love, it's a little project for yourself and just your gaming group, or sometimes it's just for you and you really don't plan to do much other than just, hey, I made a thing, neat. Sometimes people like to do that stuff, and that's totally fine. But these type of things, that type of information that Blake gave us here, and what some of the other listeners have said in the forums and such, sometimes that's like, oh yeah, that's a good thought. That's another piece, another bit of inspiration or something I should keep in mind, because as you're going through this process, you run into, how should I have initiative? Oh yeah, I have an idea. Oh, I'll remember that later. And 4 hours later, you're like, what the hell was I saying? Because I don't remember what it was. I didn't write it down. So I can tell right out of the gate, I've started to write crap down. Whenever it comes to me now, it gets put in a document, a Google Doc, something somewhere where I can grab it, even if it's just an email I send to myself, so I can keep the information I'm thinking of and don't accidentally lose it. But yeah, thanks, Blake. Good stuff, man. Thank you.
Yeah, don't pay the ferryman. Blake Ryan.
Yes,
find it at DriveThruRPG.
Mm-hmm. You can read the next one there, Sean.
All right, comments on 301. We start off with Jim, who writes, I haven't listened to the episode yet. I'm still putting you in there, Jim. He hasn't even listened to the episode. He could already comment on it.
Hey,
he already knows the
deal. That's
deal.
how good our listeners are.
He already knows the deal.
Like, Brett, you dumb shit. Let me tell you. So lay it on me, Jim.
Let's see. Or watch the stream, I guess. But the topic reminds me of a conversation on MeWe a while back, the social platform MeWe. Someone was complaining about people making new systems. It was about OSR-flavored 5e hacks, if I recall correctly, instead of just using one of the systems that already exist, and how all those attempts weren't worthwhile. I said, if I make a game, it'll be because I wanted to do it and because I enjoy creating things, even if they're not very original or someone else has done it better. Sometimes creating things is a selfish act, and whether anyone else has use for it is at best a secondary consideration. And a bit later, it'd have been a shame if everyone who thinks about making a game decided not to, because someone else might decide it's not worthwhile. So I'm glad you're making your own game, and I hope it's creatively satisfying work for you. If you decide to share it outside of your gaming group, so much the better. Edit. I should mention, sometimes it's not the external critics that end up discouraging one from creating something new. I think most, if not all, the people in this particular community of gamers will be pretty encouraging of such efforts. It's the internal critic that starts thinking, why am I bothering with this? Doesn't System X already do this better than what I'm trying? Does anyone actually need another dungeon crawl / investigation / story game? The response to that internal critic can also be, who cares? I'm having fun.
I love that. I love that bit, Jim, because it is funny. I've seen that. I hadn't thought of it when I talked about it on the last episode, but I have seen that before. Anything in the OSR space. Oh, that's just not worthwhile. Oh, there's so much junk. Why are you? Oh my God, another system. Oh my God, what a fucking loser. Right? Blah, blah, blah. What? Hey, don't buy it then. Don't look at it. Don't read it. I honestly don't believe there are too many game systems. There. Said it. There's not. Because if you don't like it, you won't play it. Move on. It's the,
Haters gonna hate. Haters gonna hate.
Yeah, if Sandy Peterson would have listened to somebody who I'm positive told at one point, why the hell are you making this Call of Cthulhu game? That sounds dumb. We wouldn't have one of the greatest role-playing games ever made.
Wow, greatest role-play games ever made.
Yeah, we wouldn't have it. We wouldn't have it.
Strong
all
words.
All those really cool games that we're all having fun playing.
Yes.
There are people out there. Sean and I have talked about Shadowrun. I like Shadowrun. as a concept, as a rule system, I've never found one that really grabbed me. And we've talked about off mics and on mics sometimes, like sometimes that peanut butter and jelly combination just doesn't work well for us. However, if somebody would have said, that's dumb, that's not worthwhile, that's stupid, you shouldn't even try, there are literally hundreds, if not thousands of people who love that game, that world, and all things about it that wouldn't have it.
We wouldn't have cars, Brett.
Of course we wouldn't
We
have
got
cars.
horses.
All sorts of shit.
We don't need
We'd
a
have
car.
better buggy whips. That's what we'd have. It's a bunch of shit.
Yeah,
But anyway,
we would
Jim.
have airplanes.
Goddamn right. Thank you, Jim. I like that.
Yeah, thanks, Jim.
Got me so fired up. All right, Gabe. He's following up. All right, let's see if Gabe's got us keep the fires burning. This is such a good comment, and there's so much to say in response. I think that a lot of what's been called OSR has shifted to DIY. Why do it yourself? Chances are one does so anyway. Whenever one makes a ruling, one does it yourself. Get enough of those rulings together, and you've got yourself a new game. If one writes one's own game, it's super familiar. Time taken looking up rules decreases, play is more efficient. As you say, it's irrelevant if the resulting game is shared with a wider community or not. Doing it at all was the point. God damn, I love this guy. Thank you, Gabe. Still got the fires going. What do you got, Sean? Who's next?
Warden.
Oh, talking about a man.
AKA Todd Crapper, AKA Broken Ruler Games.
A man who knows a thing or two.
A professional. As someone whose entire creative career has centered around designing original games and systems, kudos to you for wanting to give this a shot, Fofford.
Oh, thank you, sir.
For me, it's been a masterclass in puzzles as you try to find a way to have either the physics of your world or the story prompts follow game mechanics to create a cohesive and coherent experience across the board. Even when I start using an existing system, like we're using the PIP system for our Wiccan Pagan RPG, Ironbound Guardians of Navala, it quickly becomes a hack of the original. However, when the first stage is playtesting, it becomes a true test of personal character and endurance. It's one thing to make sure the adventure you wrote works for your group. It's another to ensure your game can hold mustard at every table that will ever try it. Luckily, you have a horde of ravenous fans eager to put whatever you make to the test and swarm you with other systems that might solve the 27 problems pointed out in session 1. And there hasn't been a game designer who's been abducted and forced to rehash their work a la Misery, so it's safer than writing a novel.
Warden's got a good point. That's actually, it's interesting. I one of my favorite things I'll hear thrown around at cons or online, especially at cons or game shops when I was going to game shops and stuff. Something along the lines of, well, they obviously didn't play test this because anyone who would have really play tested this would have found this horrible flaw.
There are some people that don't play test their shit, though. Too.
Oh, I know that, but I think it's adorable that somebody out there really honestly believes that there is some magical, mystical, mythical playtest scenario that will solve all the problems for a game that basically has no boundaries. Role-playing games offer a result to, what do you want to do? I want to do this. Can I try it? And not every one of those eventualities makes its way through playtesting, I am certain. But anyway, very good points, Todd. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. This one from Tom on designing a campaign. Has this been done? It sounds familiar, but I listen to a lot of gaming podcasts, and I know you've touched on the general topic of campaigns, so I'm not sure. You want to run a campaign. You get together with your group, everyone creates a character, and then you run a few introductory sessions or scenarios so that everyone has a feel for the character and their setting and mechanics. Now, just to be clear, Tom's stepping away from the topic from last week. This is a totally different topic. So when you realize you didn't really set up anything long-term. In the past, I always got ideas from the character backgrounds or things that happened in those first few sessions, and then I built off of those. Inevitably, I seemed to end up with several ongoing interweaving storylines that went until I felt it was time to wrap them up. Those are often replaced with others. And then when I was down to one big dramatic storyline, usually the one that sparked the idea for the campaign in the first place, I'd work to wrap that up, and ta-da! We came to the end of a long, enjoyable game. A few things that are working against me this time. I had a rapid, unexpected turnover of players right at the beginning of this game. This is a sci-fi game instead of a fantasy game. My current players aren't really as into providing a lot of backstory for the characters as past players have been. So I've got a good-sized group with characters everyone's happy with. They're interested in the setting and the game. I've run a few scenarios, but nothing's really developed. I have a few ideas, but they're going to take more laying out than usual. I don't do railroads. I let the players decide what they want to pursue and try to stay ahead of them. I know what various groups will do if not interfered with. I adjust that as the players interfere. I may have to talk my way into my own answer, but I'm still curious as to how you would set up a campaign. How much depends on the players? How much do you plan in advance as opposed to responding to your players? Do you outline general elements and fill it in as the game progresses? Anyway, if this has been discussed, please point me to the specific episodes. Thanks. Tom, I mentioned this in the forums. We have talked about this part in piece here and there for the last 6 years. I think it'd be worth pulling it together a little bit more to answer some of the specific questions you're talking about. Without having been there, or not being there, I should say, with this new group, because you've had turnover and whatnot, if this crew of players likes to do whatever you throw in front of them, and they're like, look, we're here to play, and they'll consume whatever it is you throw in front of them, it may feel like a railroad. In a way, you're like, well, they're just doing whatever adventure I put in front of them. They're having fun, man. And they still have agency within every adventure that you're putting in front of them, Tom. So when you're doing it, and you say, well, they went from the Keepborn of Borderlands, now they went to Slave Lords, now they went to Against the Giants, whatever it is you threw in front of them. Or if this is a sci-fi game, they saved the Romulans, they took out this, they did that thing, whatever thing. If they're just happy trucking along, they still get to make really cool decisions. And if whatever the next adventure, the next piece of the story that you put in front of them is predicated on how well or events from the previous adventure, I think that could be fine. Again, I'm not there, Tom, so I'm possibly making up an answer that you don't need, but that's what came to mind when I read through this. Sean, any thoughts from you?
I was in Mr. Hobbs's game this past Sunday, BX game. We were talking, and I think we made a joke at Jason's expense, but I think it also goes back to what we've said about even hex crawls and linear games. I think is a lot of railroads get really mistaken for what linear is, and linear is not necessarily bad, because I think there's a difference between railroading and a linear path.
We've talked about that.
Yeah.
What people mean by railroading is I had no choice.
Correct. But I think
no matter what my characters did, this was going to occur.
Correct. But I think it's also, I think it also morphs or gets into the gray area as people equate some of that to, here's a module, here's a story you have to follow. It's not, but some people may consider it somewhat anyways. But going off of that and getting into a campaign, if you don't I think, just my personal opinion, because, well.
Hey, man, it's our show. Go for it.
All right. Sweet. So it's, if you have something too abstract, hex crawl is great, but you still got to put stuff in the hex. And you may have other hexes relate to each other. Or, you find the runes in one hex, and in those runes you find something that belongs to something else in another town. You can kind of connect those pieces. So there is that kind of, I think that I would even say connecting those pieces become more linear. Now, if you have a hex crawl and they're able to go in 6 different directions and you're giving them 6 different choices, great. But an completely open sandbox game, some players are just like, I don't know what to do.
I'll tell you, man, one of the
It's
cool
too
things
open.
Yep. One of the things you can do with that, and I love what you said there, and this brought this to my mind, Sean, is that you come through and you say, hey, I went to 6 different hexes and we have 6 different things. Then as the game master, you slot this thing in there of so-and-so looking for something, this clue, this hint. You drop a thing out there and they go, oh my God, she's looking for this thing. Oh, I found 2 of those over here. Oh my God, thank you so much. And oh my God, you just started a war. You didn't even know you did that. Or all this stuff you've been accumulating, you've got 5 of these parts that all kind of connect together to this stick. You're like, oh, neat. I got a magic 5-parted stick. And suddenly finally says the rod of 7 parts, you idiots. What the hell are you doing? Oh my God, it's an artifact. Oh, is that why? You know, Marceline, the vampire queen, wants to eat us. Is that why? Because she wants that? Ah, fuck. That's what that is. So sometimes even when the players are kind of happily trucking along, doing that thing, you take the stuff of the world and bring it to their doorstep. They're inadvertently getting themselves caught up in something, right? I like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and get to your questions more specifically, Tom, on like how to prep it all out and how much do you as the game master outline and kind of want to tackle every session versus, well, I'll just highlight these 2 points and then I'll let the players determine the rest. That's more of a preference and a balance thing. And I think you will get that over time. And even if you start out your campaign with, 5 things written in stone that the players obviously have to accomplish. And if they don't, it doesn't go anywhere. You'll realize how that feels. And then the next session you run, you may not want to do that, or things are already put into motion and you can just kind of roll with it. You'd be surprised at how quickly the players are going to go off in a direction that may not even make any sense whatsoever. But if you just let them do it, they don't know the difference.
I've said this before to certain people, and they're like, oh, I hate railroads. I'm like, this, but you like Call of Cthulhu? Well, yeah. Many times, the dread god is going to rise. The cultists are going to raise Relia, and Cthulhu will rise and plunge the world into madness, murder, and darkness, covered with burning ashes and nuclear waste. Oh, yeah. If you fuck up, the world goes pear-shaped and it's all over. Now, granted, some keepers don't do that and they don't like their endings that way. But, a very purist approach to Call of Cthulhu is you screwed up, bad guy wins. Sorry. Because the wheels are turning, a thing's going to happen. Unless you interrupt that line of things going to happen, unless you interrupt it enough in the right places, it's going to happen, and then shit goes bad for you. So, and it's not that all Call of Cthulhu adventures are railroady, no options, blah, blah, blah. But in those games, one of the reasons why that type of I would dare I say railroad is fun is because you do have agency. You can try something. You could try multiple different things to stop the line, stop that linear progression.
It's all an effort and futility.
It can be because it's Cthulhu, but you're trying against desperate odds to save something or to do a thing. And you have to get creative to try to do it. And sometimes the keeper's like, you know what? I never thought of that. That's fucking wicked. And she looks at you and she says, that works. Like, oh, thank God. Thank you. We made it work. It's interesting. It's just settings, systems, genres, it all plays, man. But that's a good topic though, Tom. I just need to figure out how I want to digest that one because there's a number of different ways to go at it. Sean and I are already rambling around it here. So
if you had us and then like the guys from Misdirected Mark on and Todd Crapper, and we were all going to run something similar or a homebrew of some kind, but we were given the story elements, like an Iron GM competition. They give you elements and you got to incorporate it into the adventure. And how to prep for that and how to present it, all 4 of those are going to be probably pretty different. Like Brett's going to not have any notes. I will probably document some and have to have something very solidified. And so a lot of it's just going to be personal taste, and then it all depends. Some will ping the players for info. Some will just dictate it to them and say, this is the situation you find yourself in, versus saying, I don't know, you're in a bar. What's the name of the bar? Why are you there? What are you, So there isn't any firm, hard and fast answers to some of the questions you pose. And some of that's just going to be your preference and the players you have.
Oh, totally, man. I was just going to say the players' preferences too. I mean, we've talked about this before. Some players are like, what's the name of the bar, Sean? The fuck you asking me for? You're the game master.
You're the game master. That's your job.
Yeah, that happens. Some groups are more than happy to have that be the answer.
Right.
They love that answer. That's how they play, and they enjoy the hell out of that. So, oh Lord, It's a big. It's
Could
a
go
big
on
thing to
forever
unpack.
off
Totally.
of Tom. Yeah.
Totally. It's good stuff though, Tom. All right. Your turn, Sean.
It is my turn. Woot woot. All right. Phil comments on episode 300. Great episode, guys. Congrats on reaching 300. That's an impressive milestone. Thanks, Phil. Your talking NPCs got me thinking about my recent D&D campaign using Out of the Abyss. It was a pain in the ass having to think about and run all NPCs the module sets up in the first chapter. I think there were 12 of them, and that's not even considering the number of drow in the outpost. DM overload. When the party escaped into the Underdark and we were in combat, I'd forget to narrate the NPC actions all the time, and it became almost a running joke when one of them died during the encounters. By the end, the party wasn't putting in too much effort to save them.
Red shirts. They're just all wearing red shirts.
All red shirts, yeah. Stand-in number 2.
Yes.
In fact, the campaign fizzled out. One of the members had to drop out for personal reasons. The other 3 in the group said they were enjoying the game, but they felt it lacked direction. I could see their point. I dropped lots of clues on the demonic threat using stuff I homebrewed, in particular an encounter with a green hag. Hell, they even had to sneak past the major Orcus temple surrounded by undead. But to the group, it just felt like they were running through the Underdark to avoid the drow instead of this major demonic threat. I'm not too upset about it. I'm blaming the module. Ha! Why not, man? Hey, blame the module. Yeah.
Why not? What the hell?
What the hell? Can't defend itself. What's it going to do?
What's it going to do? Beat you up? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Stupid module. Let's see that module. I'll kick it for you.
Yeah. And those same 3 players in my Mothership game, so when we dropped Out of the Abyss, we upped the number of Mothership games we play every week. Win!
Nice.
Looking forward to the future episodes and all the wisdom bombs you and the BSers community continues to drop. All the best.
Thanks, Phil.
Yeah, thanks, Phil.
I'll tell you, I am currently we had to take a break because of the COVID stuff, and then we're trying to figure out if we're going to get back to the campaign. But my buddy Alpha is running Out of the Abyss before he started the online Undermountain campaign. And even in the Undermountain campaign, it's a lot of the guys I'm playing with are like, oh, what's my motivation? Why are we here? What are we doing this for? They want a reason.
Which
and
makes
Undermountain,
sense.
the way we're rolling Undermountain out, I'm like, guys, it's a dungeon crawl. Make your characters appropriately. Lenny and I had this talk. I said, dude, this is why I built my guy. Oh, you even have a 10-foot pole. That's kind of cool. I'm like, I have that for a reason. It says fucking dungeon crawl on the outside of the box. I'm going in fully prepared. And Out of the Abyss, we escaped. We got out of the Underdark, went, whoo, we had all these crazy ass characters. We got out of the Underdark, went, all right, we're fine. Time to go home. And somebody went, well, do we care about that? I'm like, fuck it, I don't care. My character's like, no, I'm like, my character thinks he's this long lost elven prince who's stuck in a Quaggoth's body. I'm like, oh, I'm going. I'm out of here. I'm taking off, man. And I go, Alpha turned it around. He homebrewed some crap, but I shouldn't say crap. It's some really good stuff. We had a lot of fun and craziness, and Gratz, the demon lord, is in there, and craziness is occurring, and slowly but surely got us back and into it. I've not read that adventure, but this is the second or third time I have now heard somebody else say that it lacked "why are we here again?" type of stuff. I don't know. I haven't read it myself, so I don't know.
I don't have it either. I don't think.
Yeah.
I was just looking to see, and I don't think I have it.
But you know what? It is fun to blame the module. And sometimes the module is actually written, and I'll just say this broadly speaking, in any adventure module, whatever you want to call it, could be written in such where the writer, the author, is expecting that you're going to fill in certain gaps, which is absolutely legit, totally legitimate way to go. Did they explain that to you appropriately? Blah, 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 blah. Sometimes you're like, look, everybody knows. It turns out not everybody does know. Anyway, so it's not unheard of to have adventures with gaps in them where the game master gets to do their thing. However, there are different levels of that and limits that certain people have. Different people. So anyway, thank you for the compliment as well. Thank you very much, man. That's very nice.
Yeah. Let's get into the main topic, yo.
Yo, let's do it.
All
ready?
right.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right, man. So,
Monsters.
I was talking to my kids about what game they want to play after Call of Cthulhu. And as I said earlier, they came up with Middle-earth role-playing. They want to try something different, old, that they'd not played before, very complicated. They want something, they heard me tell stories. They wanted to try this. Oh, yeah, that sounds cool. And one of the things we talked to, Ilana brought up, and she says, yeah, the what time period will it be? Like what age? I said, well, after the movies, after the War of the Ring, you've seen Lord of the Rings movies, you know, the books are different, blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, Dad, I get that. And I said, you know, one of the things that's kind of interesting is that there are very few redeemable bad people or redeemable monsters in Tolkien from my understanding. My scholarly level of Tolkien understanding is there's only very few things. And AJ said, yeah, that's kind of nice, actually. And Alana said, yeah, sometimes I just want to kill goblins without having to worry about if they're good goblins. Then we shared a laugh. I got thinking about it. I'm like, you know, sometimes, and this is old news to many people, but with the type of gaming I do with my home group, with my Avalon game, often saying, you know, moral dilemmas and difficult choices and ambiguity and so on, that can be fun. It can be very mentally engaging and so forth. But sometimes it's okay to have the monsters simply be monsters that need to be fought and overcome. And not everything needs to be fraught with moral dilemmas all the time. And quite frankly, some players that I've met, even some game masters I've met over the years, don't like that stuff. They like a more black and white approach, right? And I know sometimes some people think that is a lesser type of gaming, where like the morally ambiguous stuff, the tough moral choices, do we save them? Do we do this? We encountered the Warren, we fighting the kobolds, and we find the kobold children. What do we do? Is this Death Knight redeemable or not redeemable, and so forth? And sometimes that whole component, that conundrum, isn't necessary. You can still have a hell of a good game, and you can even mash the two up. You have ambiguousness and dilemmas and so forth, but still have bad guys, monster things that are just purely freaking monsters. So Sean, when I throw that at you to begin with here, what's your natural, I should say, what's your gut reaction? Do you think that's crazy talk? Do you think it makes sense? Do you fall one way or the other?
Yeah, I mean, I don't typically throw something I don't have an antagonist throw something at the party purposely to make them have a moral quandary. Typically, like, it's not, they're going through a cave and it's a bunch of goblins and there's baby goblins. I usually don't do that. I don't, unless it's specific to the plot for some reason. I typically don't do that. So, but having said that, you're damn right. If Jeff's running a paladin, I'm going to definitely put my consciousness voice in his brain and tell him, like, wait a minute, you can't run away. This is a lich. You got to go in there and defeat the evil man. You got to, it's desecrated land. You got to, come on.
But that's still kind of,
here.
That's still a little black and whitey, right? Where it's not like, well, maybe he's a good lich, right? There's no redeem the lich. Now the paladin's like, nope, smite, right?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of demons and devils and stuff like that, so it's pretty
You don't
easy.
like those?
Well, I like them. I mean, but I don't think it's a matter of, I don't find them as something I would, in a role-playing game, okay. There's probably role-playing games where it's like, well, I'm a tiefling, I have some devil blood, whatever, stuff like that. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about classic D&D as having chaotic evil monster creatures that need to go away. They need to go. They're bad news. They're bad for business.
Gotta go.
Sorry, world is closed to you. Bye. Show you the door.
So AJ and Lana and I were talking about this, and my daughter, being a smart little person, He's like, well, these challenges, this thing, because she's reading a lot about mythology and story building and all this stuff. And we're talking about it. I said, so Ilana, I said, not everything has to, have essentially a moral standing per se. She's like, what do you mean? I said, well, let's think about it this way. So a lot of times in certain myths, I mean, myths are there to teach you lessons sometimes in lore and whatnot. But sometimes, the monsters are there to show you in a fairy tale scenario that monsters or mythology, that monsters can be defeated, that the evil thing can go away. And there's more, I mean, yes, sometimes you have morally ambiguous monsters, or they have, undercurrents of different things and approaches. But I think sometimes a clearly defined monster or a bad guy can be incredibly effective because your players feel you feel really good after you defeat that thing. If you know the thing you're going after is 100% a foul abomination and should not be allowed, if Orcus should be driven from this plane because he's destroying, that demon prince of the undead is doing this horrible thing. If this nasty bad Sith Lord is slaughtering younglings, randomly on Coruscant, maybe somebody should do something about that. It's a horrible person. Something needs to be done. Now, Grand Star Wars has its own stuff, but
there's redemption, man.
You can have redemption, but not everything needs to be redeemed.
No.
And that's what I'm saying is sometimes a clearly defined, a Cthulhu cultist is one of my favorite examples, right? They are insane. They believe that they need to summon Yog-Sothoth, open the key, and bring about the end of the world. That's what they want to do. They are not redeemable. They're bad. There's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. Now, you can write a story. You can have a campaign where the person is redeemable and so forth. But generally speaking, they're not, right? They are the evil thing, the bad thing that needs to be defeated. And again, this isn't for everybody, not to be done all the time per se. But I'm just saying not every group and every player, game master wants to have morally ambiguous drama in every game that they have, or more tough moral choices. Sometimes, we've talked about this before, sometimes you've had a really shitty day at school, at work, whatever it is that you're doing, and you want to kill some orcs and take their stuff, right? You want to do the murder hobo thing. And we will often hear that that's lesser gaming, or that's weak. That's weak sauce gaming. There's better gaming than that. This other type of drama is more blah, blah, blah. For me, I'm like, this is just a gaming preference, right? And you can have both, but you don't have to. One of them is not greater than the other.
I don't know, man.
Yeah?
Gaming police, dude. Brrr, gaming police. Technical foul.
Techno foul.
Playing RPGs wrong.
Oh, well, possibly.
Sorry. You're going to have to go to RPG jail. Maybe cite you, RPG site.
So
citation.
I got a couple. I got a citation. I got a couple options that I've used in the past to make sure that the monster is, a defeatable thing, right? So if you think about like Call of Cthulhu or even the Warhammer world, if something is a spawn of chaos gods whose goal is the destruction of the known world and the plunging of the entire universe into absolute chaos, death, and destruction, that's its thing. It needs to be defeated. Dragons and giants sometimes, dragons could be representations of corruption or, physical manifestations of evil / wrong things. A dragon is greed. Giants could be senseless violence, etc. These are unnatural corruptions that exist because they're the physical manifestation of something vile, right? They're not fixable. It's just a thing. And the way to fix it is to purge that thing, because then you've killed the dragon, then you have eliminated some of the problems that come with dragon greed, and so on and so forth. The other thing I've done is that those type of creatures tend to be non-sentient or unable to procreate, right? Where the chaos gods, the spawning, like that type of thing. If I remember correctly, way back in the day, Warhammer, I think 40K had this logic for the goblins and the orcs and stuff. They were just spawned. They were like a mushroom, like a fungus practically. They just grew. They didn't breed. They didn't do this, that, and the other. They were just there. They were horrible physical manifestations of what they were, right? this monstrous violence and greed and destruction and so forth. And they weren't there for they weren't part of the natural world, right? So their monsters need to be defeated. All the good goes out to defeat the thing. Demons and devils, if it's behind it, it's evil. When Jubilex shows up, you got to get the sumbitch out the planet, right? You have to get him out of this
Got to
plane.
show him the door.
Yeah, you got to get him out of here.
Just got to go.
I think.
Now, there's going to be followers of those monsters that may say, "Hey, we just want to be here."
Yeah, that's where I think where the moral dilemma component comes in, and where your sentient being, your Twi'leks, your dwarves, your humans, your elves, whatever it is, those groups are looking at this like, look, hey, I'm trying to survive. I'm trying to do a thing. And that's where, the ultimate bad thing. And I'm not saying like all the different lieutenants and subs underneath the hierarchy of this horrible evil dragon thing, right? Sometimes like, look, we're dragon cultists because this is the only way to survive. That's great. You can look at them and say, hey, look, I can redeem you. The whole redemption story of you don't need to sacrifice young men to the dragon every Thursday during a full moon because we can take care of the dragon, and this thing you've been forced to do, well, I would question its morality and your ethics for doing so. I can help you fix this by taking care of that problem. Or, hey, you're corrupted. You, having been corrupted, this poor Twi'lek was seduced by the dark side. I can pull them back. Right. We talked a little bit about it in Lord of the Rings with my kids. And I said, Gollum, Smeagol, Gandalf, and others often hoped for his possible recovery. Right. So there's small, very specific things, but Sauron himself, unassailably evil.
Gotta go.
Gotta go. That thing's gotta go.
Fair.
The underneath, and that's what I'm talking about, like the clearly defined monster, bad guy, the bad thing, like the big one. The one that's going to be at the end boss, with enough actions so that the fight makes sense, right, Sean? Because we don't want to have a...
Yeah, you got to get some mooks in there.
Got to get some mooks in there. Does that make sense, though?
It does make sense. And I think, I would hope that a majority of folks are usually playing that way. Hey.
What, is your cat going nuts?
My cat's back. I don't know if you can see him.
No, I can't. What's he doing?
Now he's down.
He's stalking you.
Like stupid cats. He's a smart cat because what he does is he does whatever it takes to get your attention, including beating up our other cat. And then when he gets your attention, he's like, "Hey, what's some food?"
Man, I could totally hungry. You should feed me. I'd stop beating the crap out of cats if I had some food.
Right, exactly. Anyways, the trials and tribulations of Augie. I would say a lot of folks probably play it that way. Like, hey, there's this, there's the big bad evil mind flayer that wants to take over the world and corrupt people and not do any and plummet it into darkness.
So I
think if they're out to plummet the world
into darkness,
they need to go.
Exactly.
Because us playing in the world, we need our vitamin D, man.
So
and we don't have supplements.
So in my damn right we don't. So my current Avalon campaign, right? I think I may have mentioned this here. If not, it's in the forums. There are these two Penangalon, these horrible Polynesian vampire twin sisters, the floating heads with the organs and stuff. Look them up. They are evil, bad. They're trying to control and take over. They're hurting people. They're bad. The party has been trying to figure out how to deal with them, push them off, stave them off, lie to them, try to figure things out. In the meantime, though, they find other people, lesser players on that grand stage that have other problems of their own. Like this one woman has these triplet sons who are ghouls. They're her kids. She doesn't know what to do.
How'd they become ghouls?
It's a long sordid story. It's short version is their father was a ghoul. He believed he was cursed, married the mother, had the kids, unfortunately passed it on to the children. Ghouls work different in Avalon. So what happens then is he's like, I am cursed. I can free my children if you, my wife, kill me. You kill me, we will free our children. She does this. it doesn't work because that's not how ghouls function.
Oh.
So she has murdered her husband. She's in this horrible state, trying to figure out what to do. And Lenny and JR's character helps her through this trial and tribulation, and they take care of this problem and they sort things out and they fix it. It made the ghouls even kind of a sympathetic critter in this case because they, oh my God, what are we going to do here? That was a minor story. We still had to have our wonderful morally ambiguous discussion. Monsters. Oh my God, what do we do? This is a quandary. Lenny had some stuff going with his family he had to deal with, so forth. But at the end of the day, the two Penanggalan vampires, those are the fucking problem, and they've got to go. Right now, the players have been just trying to get data, information. How can we defeat them? What can we possibly do? Every trick we've tried, they've basically laughed at us and just, found ways to manipulate us, practically turning us into mental slaves at some point. This is terrible. And how do we do this? What do we do here? But the lesser creatures in the tale are redeemable. They have things they can do to fix. But those vampires, ain't no fixing them. They gotta go because they're
GTFO, baby.
Yeah, they're the big threat to the neighborhood. They're the thing that needs to be gotten rid of. Even when the one crazy Hammerite cultist came in and murdered some people, murdered Lenny's character's sister out of spite, like that motherfucker's got to go. There was no take him to the magistrates, get him on trial. There was none of that shit. There was find him in his sewer hideout and take him down, right? Again, certain bad guys were just irredeemably bad. And I have found that when you have those, the players oftentimes, if you feel this wonderful sense of accomplishment, like I defeated the vampires. I stopped Cthulhu. I defeated this thing. It doesn't mean that, excuse me, how you defeat those creatures can have moral implications, potentially, right? If you defeat the two Penanggalan vampires by burning the entire fucking neighborhood down, regardless of life lost and who else you hurt in the process, so you can just destroy everything. Possible issues here. But anyway, I know you can have a massive redemption story about the bad guy, Darth Vader, right? But even then, Palpatine, I don't think he was redeemable in the background. Granted, the story wasn't on Palpatine. Spoilers. The story isn't on Palpatine. The story's on Vader and Luke and the Skywalker clan. But Palpatine is an irredeemable evil fuck that needs to be dealt with, right? So, anyway, I think we're on the same page, but it's interesting to me sometimes I get caught up myself where I want to make sure everything is a tough choice and I want to make, this is a tough moral decision. Oh, there's an ethical question. And I have found if I lean on that so heavily or too heavily, like with every bad guy, every monster, especially monsters, right? And that's why I do a lot like you do. If it's a Goblin Warren, it's the forefront of a Goblin warband that has taken this place. There are warriors there. There are warrior goblins of whatever gender and sex. They're all there, and they're warriors. They're here for this one purpose, to join the battle. So taking them out is fine. I don't need to bring in, do you kill the goblin babies or not? These are orc babies. What do you do? I don't have to have that discussion, or with giants, right? A lot of times I'm using these monsters as sometimes quite simply just cannon fodder, because they're just, they're creatures, they're monsters. And the game we want to play tonight is an old school dungeon crawl where we're going to go in and we're going to kill all the undead. No one is here to try to save the ghost. No one is here to try to find a way to put the restless souls of these skeletal warriors anywhere other than 6 feet back underground where they fucking belong, right? Whatever the case is. But I think anyway, when I get myself caught up too much in morally ambiguous stories and blah, 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 my players get exhausted with it. I've had them look at me. Is there anything here? Is there any actual bad person here? Right. Oh my God. This is, we're trying to be heroes, for Christ's sake. We're making tough moral choices every day, all day. I didn't know if I could have a sandwich. I tried to eat an apple and I felt bad. It's too much sometimes. And it's not needed every moment of every adventure. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's why Sean, man, he points out from Tabletop Bellhop podcast where it's like just run sci-fi and have them all be robots.
You can totally do that, yeah.
Robots or,
Unless
some
you
spawn of some kind.
Want to do an iRobot where it gets sentience then, and suddenly you have to have the Will Smith discussion with your iRobot. Like, are you really? Are you human? Do you have a soul now? Sometimes people don't want. They just want to kill they want it. Roger. I want to shoot that fucker. I shoot the droid. I shoot the battle droid. They don't want to deal with a battle droid that gained sentience. Number 5 doesn't have to be alive all the time.
No.
Anyway, so it's just
it's personal preference. People are like, "Yep, that's the thing that drives my crank, turns my crank." And then there's games that don't have it. Like that's not the thing. Like you don't. No. Your goal is different.
I think what you just said there is really important, actually, Sean, because I don't know. Cthulhu used to run Monster Hearts quite a bit, and I know a number of other people who play that. Those are different types of games around certain types of feelings and types of adventures, if you will, or stories that they're there to help you tell. Right?
Yeah.
They're different.
Yeah, they're way different. They're
not your classic D&D adventure.
They're humans with monster characteristics.
Yeah, and it's like, in a Shadowrun game, you don't have, yes, Mr. Johnson's going to screw you over. It's an overused trope, but sometimes that's fun to have. Mr. Johnson doesn't have to be redeemable. He can just be a absolutely soulless corporate shill who, honestly, in the spirit of this game, we could put a bullet in his head because he's the one that betrayed us, or whatever the case is. Sometimes they're just bad. Well, from the very simplistic game perspective, it doesn't have to be this deep thing.
It doesn't have to be a moral quandary all the time. And some would say, well, Mr. Johnson screwed us over. We should probably throw him in jail, take him alive, turn him over to this, turn him over to that. So there can be, it just depends on how deep you want to go and whether that's the type of game you want to run. But other times, let's face it, we play some role-playing games. There is senseless violence, and
it just is.
You're just gonna have some casualties.
It's the your superheroes, right? So Superman punches Darkseid through 16 buildings. Hopefully, no one was in them, right?
Right.
It was.
Yeah, you're trying to beat up this one guy. How about not destroying an entire city full of
exactly all the horrible things
humans.
That occur. Yeah. So it's
where's the picket signs now, buddy?
But at the end of the day, these guys, these superheroes, right? The X-Men take out so and so, they lock him up. They do whatever they can, they lock him up. Wolverine doesn't usually gut Magneto, even when he's got him dead to rights. That's not the purpose.
Well, that's the whole quandary behind Civil War, man. Hey, you guys are out of control, man. You're destroying cities to save the world. Do they necessarily need to be destroyed?
Well, that was the old Dark Knight Returns before Frank Miller went completely fucking bonkers. But the original Dark Knight Returns that Frank Miller did too, where superheroes are outlawed. And it, I guess where I'm going is that sometimes the dealing with the reality, our moral dilemmas and issues can be very difficult. And sometimes we had a hard enough day as it is. It was a tough day. I already had to deal with some of this crap. I had to have a hard conversation with a staff member at work. I had to have a difficult conversation with my boss. My wife and I are dealing with something, my oldest kid, blah, blah, blah. It can be tough. And sometimes we want to escape. And sometimes the escape is like, give me a clearly defined monster. Sean, you're muted.
I am, because my dog's coming down into the basement.
That's okay. But I'm saying, if you give me a clearly defined monster and we will go defeat the monster and I will have done some good. And there's something wonderful about that sometimes. So anyway, not that you need Brett and Sean's permission, but you got Sean and Brett's permission. You can have a clearly defined monster. Not everything has to be a redemption story for everything you run into. Again, certain games are designed for more redemption stories, for more tugging at your heartstrings and really pulling pieces and parts of you. Not all games are. And sometimes if you find yourself trying to make certain games have that in it, it can be fun for a while. But unless the game explicitly is designed for that, you have to make sure that your expectations are meshing with your players and your game master, right? You know, if the game master is running a game where, hey, this is the moral thing, blah, 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 and you're like, well, I'm sorry, it's a bad guy, I got to kill it. Or if the game, yeah, whatever, you're smart gamers, you know what I'm talking about here. But anyway, I think it's cool. It's just a different way to do things sometimes, or if nothing else, to remind yourself that sometimes having a clearly defined evil thing to defeat can be pretty damn good. Sean, we good?
Yeah, we're good. I'm sorry. My dog. So Brett was saying you're muted. What I was doing was calling my dog down the stairs, which he's like right over my.
Yeah, I can see him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's still PTSD over fireworks. And so where I live, they shoot fireworks almost every night. And so
they still got them.
They still got them. And there's a park across the street that upon closing, they shoot off fireworks. So he spooks and he comes down in the basement and
wants to hang out by Dad.
And he's calm down here and he can't hear anything. So anyways, that's the saga of my dog. Anyways.
Sean's dog. The big dog instead of the little one.
Yeah. Yeah, not the little one. Anyways, yes. So. Anyways.
Let us know what you think. If you've done this type of thing, if you've used it to good effect and so forth, if you've got points, counterpoints, or other ideas, let us know. Like I said, it came from discussions Sean and I have had, but a lot of it came from my talk with my kids about different games and settings and how sometimes it's fun to know that this certain thing needs to be defeated. Unquestionably defeated.
Sometimes it's a no-brainer.
Sometimes
you got to make it a no-brainer.
Yeah. Yep.
Delta Green, man. It's all got to go.
Burn it down. Burn it.
It's got to go. That's the purpose of Delta Green, man. Shit's got to go.
All right. Let's move on to Die Roll.
Die Roll, baby. 2D4 miscellaneous gaming geekery we want to bring to you. I got 3 this week. Some of you are already in the loop on these. First one, Monte Cook Games launches Beneath the Monolith, which is Numenera or the Ninth World. They're setting for Numenera for 5e. So if you like Numenera and you're like, I'm not a big cipher system person, but I love the setting, there you go. Number 2, Jim Henson's Labyrinth. If you haven't seen the movie, go out and check it out. They have the adventure game on DriveThruRPG. I think it was launched a while ago, right? I think they brought it back.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it came back. Yeah.
And it went out of print. People complain that the PDF's too much money.
It's $30.
Pay creators, man.
Yeah, it's like it's a licensed.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just me.
It's a licensed property.
Bitch and moan about
it. Was put out in motion picture or River Horse 2019, dude. Not that long ago.
I don't know. My take is if you like Jim Henson's Labyrinth and you like that game,
pay for it.
As long as it's not $1,000. I don't know.
Yeah, not everything has to be free or cheap.
Doesn't have to be $2.
No, it doesn't. You can pay real money for your games, people. Yeah.
Now, this last one, Tron 3 has been announced.
Really?
Well, yeah. It's been kind of on the burner. It's been canceled. Jared Leto was slotted. I think they're going to bring him back. Daft Punk's going to be involved if they want to be involved. So, the last Tron movie,
meh.
It didn't fire at home like the first one for me. But hey, it's Tron, man. I like Tron. I read the book when I was a kid.
Did you?
Yeah.
Huh.
I own a Flynn's t-shirt, man.
Nice.
Love Tron. Tron, man. That's all we have for you this week.
Yeah, next week I don't know what I'm going to go into. I might dig into Tom's question a little bit. Got a couple other things percolating. So, I'll hit you up outside of here, Sean. We'll figure out something.
Tom's has got some wheels and some dirt, but I think what we might have to do if we do address something
take it in pieces
is take it in chunks. And how would Brett do it? How would Sean do it? How would somebody else do it? And then, whatever.
We'll figure something out.
Right.
Good time, though. Sweet. We good?
Yeah. Thanks everybody for tuning in on Twitch. We stream here every Monday night, 8 p.m. Central Time, if you want to check us out. And then YouTube, if you see this on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe as well. And then if you want to hear the audio version of this, comes out every week. You can check us out at gamingandbass.com. Otherwise, I'm Sean.
And I'm Brett. Good night. Good game and all.